Okay, so I'm a Muslim. Jay here's a Christian. We like to talk about practical solutions to modern Western problems. And a cool thing or cool way to start is going through awesome clips and saying if we agree, disagree, etc. Let's go for it. We've got Mr. David Goggins, super, I don't know what we call him, fitness, willpower, crazy, insanely tough guy. Let's do it. Let's see what he's got to say.
I will tell you this, Joe. You will never in life meet a hater doing better than you.
That's a fact.
Ever. I will tell you this.
Should I play that again? Was that clear? One
Joe.
more time.
You will never in life meet a hater doing better than you.
That's it, really. I don't know why it keeps pausing. Just today I got like upgraded my internet, but anyway. Okay, so I love this, super short, and my first reaction is that's what I see in life. I see people who are angry and bitter, and it doesn't work. And it sits with my religious teachings, like the believers, we're told the believers will be successful. Why? Just because they are following positive actions every day. Positive actions lead to positive results. It makes sense. And hate, I don't think that's a positive action. It doesn't help you influence people either. People don't listen to people when somebody's being hateful to them. You're testing out the what's invisible, your drinks. Are you trying to disagree?
Sorry, apologies. I was seeing what fire looked like on camera, but I'm listening to you.
Yeah,
Carry
that's
on.
cool. No,
Don't take me notice me.
That's all right. And then there's all these subtopics like what is hate? Is like if you got a justified argument, is that hate? Blah blah blah. So that's going to be an interesting topic. Jay, what's your opinion on this?
Well, Goggins is crazy. I'm telling you now. And I'm not saying that what he's saying isn't true or untrue, but I know a little bit about the fella, and he had a really, really horrendous upbringing. And his form of his philosophy in life is like, unless you're like you've run 100-mile that day and you're bleeding out your ears, you're not really you're living. You have to be pushing more than the every man. So he's almost possessed with an internal like demon. And I think he's caused quite a bit of damage to a lot of people who like felt they had to be doing a lot more than what they had to do. And I've watched quite a bit of him. And a few years ago, he did come through the ranks, and he was on Joe Rogan and stuff. And you know, people were listening to him, but like now, I don't think he like every workout he says that you should be puking up, vomiting at the end of it. And it's like, not really. But however, on this particular issue, you will never meet a hater who does it better than you. What he's on about is hating up. So he is saying that you'll hate the person who has more than you. You won't hate the person who has less. I think he's probably right with that. Maybe 70% of the time, 80% of the time. And I think you're looking at jealousy and envy, which makes people angry. But in reality, it's very lazy and easy to be jealous, because I firmly believe that everybody has got a certain amount of talent or ability, or whether that be creative, spiritual, physical, kindness, whatever. And if you're not using your own to the maximum and trying hard, then it's very easy to blame others and say, oh, it's all right for him. Look at him. He's got this. He's got that.
Scapegoating. Yeah.
Yeah. But really, like, it doesn't matter if you're a cobbler or an aeroplane pilot or a rocket pilot or a person who sells vegetables on the street. Like you have to become that. You have to be good at. You have to practice it and become, try and stuff. And we're all equal in that respect. And from jealousy, you get anger, but really, the people that are angry tend to be not fulfilling their own obligations to God and themselves. And
Wow.
the guilt comes out as hatred and on hating up, So I do think that in this case, Goggins is pretty much on it. But there are cases of like hating down where you don't want to live with certain types of society because they're all poor or drug addicts or whatever. So you can, it's not a fixed thing, but you can hate down. But most of it, I think, is hating up out of jealousy and envy.
Wow, I love that. So I love that for so many reasons, because I totally agree that Goggins is insane, and I don't believe in his insane approach that could be really harmful. Like, you should be puking blood, otherwise you're not working hard enough. I'm a slow and steady kind of guy. That's Islam. Islam is a slow and steady, win the race in the long term. And you just have to keep being better than you were yesterday sort of attitude. So I don't agree with, I like that you said that about Goggins, for people who know Goggins. So you don't have to be extreme, but he can still be right even if I don't, or we don't agree with him generally. And we got Claire making interesting comments, agreeing with you about hatred follows envy. That kind of makes sense. And then you was talking about, I think you were basically talking about scapegoating in some ways, and that's actually the main reason why I brought this topic up, because as regular listeners would know, my main target audience is white men, not even women, because I think it's men that listen to this kind of YouTube content. Women listen to some other kind of content. And I'm a British guy, and I feel pain for British people, white people particularly, falling apart. But what they're doing, a lot of white nationalists are hating on other people, scapegoating, and rather than fixing their own problems. I don't want to say that all of their arguments are just hate, because then that kind of diminishes their argument, and I want to listen to people's arguments and see the possibility. Like, for example, a lot of white people are hating on what's it called, immigrants, but I kind of agree with it as well. Like, you should have controlled borders and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff. There are some arguments, but it doesn't solve their problem by just hating. Like, there are fundamental problems, like they're not having enough children, they're not filling the jobs, etc., etc. So how do we fix that, right? So anyway, some really interesting questions. So first of all, from Claire, the Office of Secular Quranism, first of all, she agreed with you, essentially, I think. What do you think? Hatred follows envy. So is that she agreeing with your thoughts there?
No. I a couple of years ago, I taught her all about jealousy and how it
you taught her. Okay.
Yeah.
And then a follow-up would be, what do Islamophobes, and a lot of white nationalists are Islamophobes, what do Islamophobes envy Muslims for? That would be a logical thing. Like, if you're saying hatred follows envy and white nationalists hate Muslims a lot, would you agree?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I
really,
would
say... the famous ones tend to, Tony Robinson and Nigel Farage, they tend to, except for we did a video not too long ago where they're actually like my kind of Muslim, but that's a
well, you're
topic.
assuming you're assuming that they're Islamophobes. They have a fear of Islam, but I would have thought, and I don't know on this. I mean, you mentioned Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson in the same sentence.
They say a lot. They say a lot of bad things about Muslims, don't they?
They do not want to live within Muslim culture, so
fine.
They're not speaking about Islam.
So they would fit in as an Islamophobe.
They're on about their own their own existence. So it's not, you know, I mean, it's not English people clamoring
I'm
to
just
get into.
checking. I'm just checking. So, do you agree that Tony Robbins, Nigel Farage, for people who don't know, these are key white nationalist leaders? Would you agree
No,
that
they're
they
not.
are Islamophobes?
They're not. They're
They're
not.
not leaders. Which
No,
one
no.
are they?
You're not letting me speak.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Right.
But just clarify for me though: are they leaders? White
Nigel
nationalist leaders?
Farage is not a white nationalist leader. Tommy Robinson
okay.
is not a white nationalist leader.
Oh, okay.
Can
you tell me what they are?
Me they are? Give me some evidence.
They're like GB News kind of people. I thought
A
everybody
lot of
just
black
accepted
people
that.
don't want. A lot of black people watch GB News. Don't want any more immigration. A lot of Muslims voted for Brexit. Claire herself talks about that.
Yeah. What do you categorize them as? You don't because they
nationalists.
seem to
nationalists,
but not white nationalists. Is that what you're saying? They're just nationalists.
No, they are white, obviously in skin, but they want to preserve the identity of the country, and whether that be cultural, religious wise, everything wise, education
and
wise.
What is the identity? Is like a white kind of identity, like a identity that Christian identity? I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, Christian identity, not necessarily white directly. Obviously, there is. I don't think anywhere. I mean, a country is made up of loads and loads of different things, so it's quite impossible to say that the identity is. If you choose Germany, what would you say? BMWs and a football team that's very organized.
But I do want to get to her point to see if there's any meat in her point. Okay, let's take.
Listen. Look. I can cut to the chase. She was messaging me for 20 minutes before the stream, calling me Islamophobic, right? And she's put that on here, i.e., me. Why do I envy Muslims for? That's what she's.
But we don't have to make it about you necessarily. But like,
but it is.
Okay, go on.
That's what she's done.
Take it how you want. Go for it. Yeah.
No, I'm taking it as it is. So Claire's just left her Muslim country, Malaysia, to come back to a Christian country to live. So her demonstration's a pile of shite anyway.
Okay, but what do you think about
this? Actually, this hatred. I believe that a large amount of Muslims want what Western countries offer, and that is why they flock to get here. That is why they will risk life and limb on a boat to come here. What Christians, what English people want to leave a country where you have a good standard of living to go and live in many shithole Muslim countries? None. None.
Well, a lot.
Look.
Look at YouTube.
Even in the wealthy, even in the wealthy Muslim countries, they refuse to help the people from Gaza. They do not want.
Yeah, but we're mixing up a whole bunch of things. I don't want to get. Okay, I want to answer this.
I'm answering the question.
Okay,
Muslims hate up. Muslims hate up. The one Christians hate Jews out of jealousy. I accept that, and Muslims hate them both because Muslims are the bottom of the pile in terms of living standards, wealth, health, everything. So regarding Islamophobes envying Muslims, the answer is fuck all. Absolutely nothing.
Okay, let's say that's true. Let's say that's true for a minute, because my main target really is solving let's say there's some truth in that. I can see, a lot of Muslims coming to Western countries is true. There's also true that a lot of white people leaving Western countries as well, because they're saying it's falling apart, and they're going to all sorts of Muslim countries like, Indonesia and whatever, right? But that's a whole different story, right? I'm just saying, can we answer this thing? Because it seems to have some truth in it. Because if you say hatred follows envy, and then what do Islamophobes, because a lot of Islamophobes, the definition of Islamophobia is you hate Muslims. Do they envy something?
No.
What, an Islamophobe doesn't hate Muslims?
No. You need to know the meaning. Islamophobia is a fear of
No, but
Islam
yeah,
or
I know what you
Muslims.
mean. It's not like arachnophobia, you're scared of spiders or you're scared of Muslims kind of thing. The idea, let's just go for the general understanding, which is that you have a hate for a reason. Okay. I think, let me answer the
It's not.
question.
You're making your own reason up now. You're changing
Okay,
the definition of the word, and
okay,
it's
let
like
me
me
make a
saying,
statement. I'll make a statement, see if you agree. A lot of white nationalists hate Muslims because they envy the fact that Muslims have family structure, are having children, they're growing in numbers, in influence, while white people are doing the opposite. And I don't actually want that. I want white
yeah.
people to be happy, to have children. I'm not anti-white people, even though I'm not even though I'm Muslim.
Well,
There's lots
I
of
can
white people who are
right.
Muslim. So, what's your response to that bit, even if
White
you maybe disagree with Claire?
white nationalists do not give a flying fuck about Muslims. White nationalists
Okay,
do not want them in the country. White nationalists do not care what Muslims do in their own country. They can throw gays off roofs. They can marry your sister. You can marry 9-year-olds. You can eat couscous every day and shag a camel. Whatever Muslims want to do, they do not care. They just do not want to live with, have the country become more and more Islamic. They don't want Buddhism in the country. They want to live on their own. They
sure.
do not
Okay.
hate the individual. It's their own survival that they.
Yes.
It's not about hating what Muslims do
Yeah.
directly. It's the fact that they are doing it here in their homeland. That's what a lot of nationalists and a lot of Muslims don't want that as well. A
Yeah.
lot of Muslims
A
do
lot
not
of
want any
Muslims,
more.
you mean, don't want too much immigration, is what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that because you have to control immigration. Like your country is your house. You have the right to say who comes in, and also you want to do the best for your house, which is you want like the best people in. But what I'm saying is, sure, we both agree that's what we want. How do we make that happen? If let's just solve one problem, the birth rate problem, right? Do you want, like, how do we get white people to reproduce then? Because we got to solve
Well,
that problem, otherwise they're not,
if I can
because they're
just say
not.
some, if I can just say
Yes.
something on
Yeah.
that topic, it was
Yeah.
announced this week. I don't know if you read it or heard it, but
Hmm.
the government proudly said that by 2030, there'll be 75 million people in this country, which is an extra 5 million. Now, they keep saying GDP, gross domestic product, as in the wealth of the country. We need more people. Even though there's evidence that more immigrants does not equate to GDP. But
I
I
agree,
don't,
because you're
yeah.
getting lower skill levels, and all the smart people are leaving, including Muslims are leaving as well.
Well,
Anyway,
this is it. I'm glad you say that. I mean, that's common sense that,
yeah.
a lot of Muslims don't want to live with a bunch of Muslims.
No, it's not that. It's just the UK is falling apart, and not just Muslims. Everybody, lots of young people are leaving.
Oh, well, a lot of people are living in vans. A lot of people are living in forests and building tree houses and stuff. I mean, like,
Yeah,
it's
but a lot of them are going to the Middle East. They're going like Dubai. Loads of people going there. Loads of people, if they're smart,
wealthy
they
people.
can go.
Yeah, people with more money.
Business, and and people with less money are going to the Far East because it's very cheap there, and it's a growing. A lot of those economies are growing, tiger economies and stuff. So yeah, but okay, the reason, okay, this is the target, so people know where I'm going and why. There's a lot of hating, but it's not solving. Hate does not solve. So
No,
for example, people are hating on or angry with Muslims. Let's say, if they call it hating or whatever, right? They're angry with Muslims. They're angry with, let's call it even Buddhists, whatever. I don't think there's much hate of Buddhists, but anyway. But it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the fact that the white people are not having kids. So my point is, try to get off the hating and get focused on the solving. If you're hating, just like Goggins says, you're going to be a loser, because you're wasting your energy. What do you think about that?
No, absolutely. Any a good saying that a resentment, real or imagined, has the same effect. So anger, justified or unjustified, has the same effect on you. It blocks you from the kingdom of heaven. Yeah. So if you could be on holiday and somebody says your house has been robbed, you'll be angry. But even though it hasn't been robbed, you might get home and your house has been robbed. You'll be angry. If you're full of anger, you're not allowed to you don't receive the sunlight of the spirit, as they call it. So anger causes blood pressure, stress, tension, all kinds of things. It doesn't solve anything. The only good thing about anger is it's anger is a warning, like in your car when the oil light comes on. Anger is a warning sign that something's wrong. What can you do about it? How can you stop the anger? Do you need to apologize? Have you made a mistake? Do you need to do something? Or
people say listen to your triggers. Listen to your triggers. That says more about you.
Yeah, if you're playing God and you want the world to be your people or your wife or your whatever to be a certain way, and they're not, and you get angry, the mistake is that you're playing the role of God, the authoritarian in life. And I think a lot of babies have that when they're 2 or 3. They don't know that they don't control, so they trying to grab things and reach things and they can't, and they get really irate.
Okay.
But a person has to know their own limitations. So there's no point me getting angry because I cannot be a ballet dancer. Like it's not going to happen. So it's silly. So you have to know your own limitations and know that you cannot control or change people and things like that. So a lot of anger is self-inflicted, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so anger is self-inflicted because you haven't fully assessed yourself, your own limitations, etc. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah. That's what Goggins is saying, that if you are not fulfilling your own obligations to yourself, you'll hate up. You look at people who are fulfilling their lives. So, for example, there's a really good program about Cristiano Ronaldo, and yes, he's got £500 million in the bank. His wife's beautiful. His houses all over the world. But like, he gets up at 5:30 in the morning. He hardly eats. He does his physical training. He lives his life like a monk, and he's 37 and he's still playing. And like, he lives a life that is around dedication, principles. I even think he lives with he has his mother there and his wife and girlfriend and stuff. And
I think he's a family guy, very family orientated. I love him actually. I think he's got a lot of, and he's very kind and does a lot of charity work. It's not like he lives a boring. I mean, he lives a very focused and what's the word? Orderly life, but he also does a lot of good. I think it's a fulfilling life. Just even there, pretty fulfilling life.
Well, he does what he needs to do to become the best footballer in the world, or rather, he does what he needs to do to become the best he can be. And
yes, not just a footballer, but by a good guy as well.
It. So imagine if I wanted to become the best version of myself. I'm telling you now, my alarm clock would be on for 6 o'clock in the morning. It would be reading the Sermon on the Mount. It would be drinking water, lemon juice, not coffee. It would be doing certain physical exercises on a morning because it sets me up for the day. Do a list of things I needed to do that day. And then, like, by 9 o'clock, I'll have done more in 3 hours than what I would do when I wake up and watch bloody boxing on YouTube and have coffee. I mean, so we all probably could live a better life in terms of becoming a better version of ourselves. Some people do, and I think Goggins and Ronaldo do. You know, sometimes I do, but a lot of the times I don't. You know.
So I'm trying to. Okay, so tell me if my perspective is wrong, because I like that you correct me, because it could be that I'm seeing things differently to you. So I do see a lot of anger from white nationalists, like in angry protests and kicking stuff and burning stuff and, smashing the hotels where immigrants are in. Do you see that as hatred? And do you I suppose two questions: do you see it as hatred, and do you see it as useful?
I see it as hatred. The hatred is dishonest because it's at the government that have made the decisions. It's not at the people in the hotel, even though they probably hate that as well. But yes, it's hatred. But I do think the government are quite content for them to keep attacking the hotels as opposed to attacking the Houses of Parliament. So it's misguided anger.
Okay, what's this comment?
Says, look, the government says if you come here, we will put you up in a hotel and give you money, which is a damn sight better than where they come from. Stuck in a hotel for 4 years is better than wherever they're living on whatever the hell they do.
Sure.
So until the government say you're not getting that, we're not letting anyone in, they're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming. People on the street know that. People know. And apparently, because we signed up to some European convention, we're not allowed to stop people coming.
Sure, but I think, but we could get out of all these things if they want, just like we did Brexit. We could get out of them. Let's just say, what is the actual solution so we can tell the government this is, because I think, let's say Claire's response to what you're saying is like, I agree. It's not great to have all these immigrants and house them in hotels and stuff like that, right? It's not great. Okay. But let's say Claire's response, although she wrote it before you said it, is you have to put up with things you cannot change, because you can't change it because you don't have a solution, right? When white men can't stop immigration, well, there's a democracy as well. So first of all, the white men didn't vote for a government. Like, they didn't get together and vote for BNP, for example. Why can't they do that? There's more white men than all the immigrants put together. They could have, but they didn't. But also, they need the immigrants. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong. This is my argument. But they need the immigrants because they're not doing the jobs. They need the immigrants because they're not having the kids either. So those are some arguments. Can you respond? So you can respond to Claire and you can respond to me. What are the solutions? Because being angry and just saying we don't want you is not going to help, because you need them. You need the immigrants.
Well, the thing is, for men and women, including black men and women in this country, is they hate the immigration and what's going on. But what can they do about it? And that's the horrible frustration. Almost.
Are you saying they can't do something about it?
No. I'm saying they feel like they cannot do anything about it.
Sure. So and do you agree that they can't do anything about it?
To a point, because if you hate it, if you promote it, if you verbalize it, you can get imprisoned. It's becoming more and more illegal in the UK.
I think that's a cop-out to say you can't say, because the real thing is not just verbalizing you don't like something. The real thing is doing something about it. So, okay, let me give you a simple, I'm trying to use as many of Claire's arguments in the comments as well as part of.
Hang on, she's writing stuff to antagonize me now completely.
No, but okay, let's not say it's about. Okay, fine. That's fine. She could say stuff about me as well, right? But it's not just in plain insult. It's not like, oh, you look ugly or something like that. These are practical.
No. So why pretend to be Christian when Christianity is kaput? That's right.
Because the reason why I'm putting this one up is we're talking about Christianity is not giving the solutions. It's not helping. Even though I encourage people to be Christians, but the modern version of Christianity is so watered down, it doesn't have the values to sustain.
So hang on. Well, right.
So that's my point.
Christianity is not solving the immigration issue.
It's not. No, no. It's not solving. I'm going to make it really laser focused. It's not solving the reproduction problem, and Islam is. That's my argument, and that's. I would say that's a way of looking at Claire's comment. What's your response?
So you're saying Christianity is not? Is Christianity meant to solve the birth rate problem?
Okay, so I would say good religion solves real life problems. Islam solves it. Are you saying Christianity does not solve it and not even supposed to solve it?
So why do Muslims want to come and live in Christian countries?
No, but let's not. That's a distraction.
No.
I'm going to ask a specific question.
Why would someone like Claire want to live? She left Malaysia. She's come back to London, the country she hates. She's left a Muslim country in the last couple of days to come to a country she hates and come on here and bitch on about it.
There could be all sorts of reasons. I would say Malaysia is an amazing country. It's very cheap and very modern, and it seems to be doing better than the UK in many ways. The UK is on its way down. So we could ask her, maybe she's just been in the UK for so long that she's got used to it. Maybe that's the reason. Who knows? But that's a distraction from my very specific question, which is, okay, Islam seems to be solving the reproduction problem. Does Christian? I'm gonna like yes or no, or no. I don't want to force you to say yes or no.
No,
I'm gonna ask you specifically: does Christianity solve the reproduction problem?
I don't think we have a reproduction problem.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
I don't think we have it. I think the question is
are you denying? Okay, when you say you don't think the UK has a reproduction problem, are you denying the statistics that the official statistics that say we do have a birth rate problem?
I think we have a birth rate problem whilst we continue to take in millions and millions of people. So a lot of nationalists just want to live with English British people.
Sure. So you're saying, just to clarify, we do have a birth rate problem, but you're saying the reason is that this. What is the reason? Can you explain? Something to do with immigrants?
No. I don't look. I've said it twice. I don't believe we have a birth rate problem. By saying we have a birth rate problem, almost legalizes the need for immigration.
So you're saying the official statistics are wrong about the birth rate problem, which say that we do have a birth rate problem in all of Europe.
If we keep saying we have a birth rate problem, it legitimizes mass immigration. So where does it stop?
No, okay, fine. Okay, but we got to.
Why do we need to have more people?
Okay. But these are all different questions, but we've got to solve one at a time. So, okay, so what you're saying is that white people are dwindling in numbers or going towards that. They're not dwindling.
No. White people.
But you're saying that's not a problem, maybe. Is that what you're saying? It doesn't matter.
Whilst you're importing people from the Sahara and the third world,
sure.
The balance, the percentages are changing. But again, we need people to work in our coffee shops that we don't, don't have them.
Okay, so I'm going to move on from.
I don't believe it's the truth. It's a false premise to say that we need. I think if you look somewhere, they equated to GDP. So we need more money for GDP for GDP. But like, if we at the minute there's 0.1% growth in this country, which is basically nothing. So if the next quarter, which apparently will be less than that, we're in recession. So it's been fucking great, hasn't it? Importing all these people, and the GDP is minus. So what is the point?
Yeah, sure. Okay. What's the point of immigration, right? Okay, let's put immigration to one side. Okay, and I've asked the same question about how can we solve the reproduction problem. I'm not really clear what your answer is. I feel like you don't have an answer.
No, I don't. You don't like my answer. I don't think we have a reproduction problem.
Okay, so you say we don't have a reproduction problem,
No.
even though, but you agree that the numbers of white people are, the trajectory is going to be going down because like you don't have kids, right?
Yeah, I do.
You do have kids. Sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, okay. So a lot of white people are not in relationships and not having children, generally speaking, right?
Yeah, a lot of that is financial and practical as well, which I believe
Sure.
I've explained the, you know, they a lot of it's £1,500 now to live in a room in London, you know, one person.
Yeah,
So if you
it's pretty expensive. Yeah,
if a couple live in a room and that's all they can afford, they're not going to have a family and live in a room, you know.
yeah,
Whereas Muslims and immigrants who come into the country would think that's heaven, a lot of it
sure.
compared to where they're from.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah.
Yeah. When you have less expectations, you become tougher. It's the whole. I think it's the whole thing about like, uh, weak men make bad times, and the whole cycle of, and then bad times make tough men, and tough men makes good times as well. So there's a bit of a cycle there. But I want to explore different parts of this topic, right? Because I really felt strongly that this is. I love how short it is and how true it is. And if we could stop hating and start focusing on solutions, that'd be great. I just want to play it one more time, and then maybe it will come up with. I want to come up with different angles on this topic because I love it so much.
I will tell you this, Joe. You will never in life meet a hater doing better than you.
That's a fact.
Ever.
So I got the Ronaldo example. A lot of people hated him, and like he just kept on going. And he's a lovely guy. Didn't really hate back, I don't think. Maybe who else was there? I can't remember in the video, but who else was there as an example? You got Messi, I guess. But anyway, everybody has to. Okay, let's another sort of. All successful people have to go through tribulations, and I think those successful people, like you look and you don't see them wasting their energy on hate. They're just laser focused on the solution. They ignore the haters. Like if you're going to be really successful, you're going to have a lot of hate just because you're more well known, right? So and you're going to have a lot of love as well, whatever, right? So I love it so much, but I'm not sure what else to add to it because I know so many people who are kind of depressed and they're also angry and they're not going forward in life. And I feel like saying like stop like trying to dig at other people is such a waste of your energy because I'm thinking of people that I know, right? And instead of digging and hating on other people, the people I think are the most happy and the most successful, and maybe there's a whole video on this, are the people who are just so generous. Like, generous means doing things like being kind to people who don't even particularly deserve it. Like, you're just freely just giving. Somehow those people seem to win. That's the opposite of this hate mindset, which I think is such a it's just a downhill spiral. That's my feeling. I'm not sure if I'm adding to the conversation, but any thoughts
No,
about
I hear
any
you.
different
I hear you.
angles? Yeah. I just love this so much because it's so true. And I mean, if people just listened to this and believed it, but I want to convince people somehow more in a different way.
Okay, can I help?
Yes,
help you
you
with
go
it?
for it. Yes, please.
Not to be
Yes, go for it.
condescending, but I hear what you're saying.
Not
And I
think about
think
condescending. I want to be helped. Go for it.
no. I think I can word it in a different way, but it makes sense. And in you may get in. I know in the Old Testament, there's a lot of rules in it that you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't this, whatever. And we know that Jesus came along and said that it's not just about doing and not doing acts. It's about in your heart, like organically wanting to do and doing them. So if you're going out giving free things to people or whatever, doing voluntary work, but you hate it, you're bitter, and why you're doing it, you're doing it because you've been told to do it. Jesus was sort of saying that that's not, you may as well not bother doing it, but you have to have an internal transformation, for which the only way you could do that is from a spiritual perspective. And
Sure.
what you're talking about is a base one person, like, who is full of anger and hatred, even if it's real or unjustified. So Jesus said, like, even if somebody, what did he say about you have to cut your hand off as opposed to hate another person or something, or cut your one eye out if the other one's looking elsewhere where it shouldn't, whatever. He doesn't mean literally. What he's saying is you have to avoid avarice, it's called, I think, at all costs. You need to get to the point in life where you're at, I think, Khalid, where you really enjoy giving, and it's not an effort, and it's not an effort, but you can't go from being angry one. Well, Jesus reckon you could, and that the healing of people is getting them out of anger into transmitting kindness and love. So that is a lifetime journey for most people. A lot of people don't even know that it's there. So
everybody's on a journey. I'm on a journey. Like, I like giving to people, but there is all this selfishness deep down inside me that keeps saying, "Oh, don't do it, don't do it." But it's like there's always that whisper still there, and it's going to continue. I think it would always be there. So definitely not perfect at all. But yeah, but I do definitely. I've seen the benefit a million times over. So I'm encouraged to do that.
I went into the shop yesterday, and the pastry was on offer, like really cheap. And I know that the shop's quite a big shop, but the girl said, "Oh gosh, you're buying lots of that?" I said, "Yeah, I make cheese pies." And she said, "You haven't brought us one in." And I laughed and I said, "Are you working tomorrow?" And she said, "Yeah." And the manager shouted over, "Bringing them in Wednesday. I'm not in tomorrow." And we laughed about it. And I went out and got the stuff today, and like it'll cost about £8, like to buy all this cheese and stuff. But that makes me richer. That makes me richer. I took my daughter's car to the mechanics last week to get its MOT. And when I was walking out, one of the guys who I know was walking in with 2 big pizzas. And I said to him, I says, "Hey, I make cheese pies." And I said, "I'll bring you one down next week." And he laughed and said, "All right." So I'm doing that tomorrow. And like, that is, it's a very, very rich experience. And I probably
love that. Yeah. So the richness is like understanding you as a human being. You're understanding your own psychology, that knowing that giving actually makes you happier than taking. That's actually known in psychology. That's one. And also what you're doing is you're becoming an influential person, even if that's not your intention. You're going to build up friends. You're going to be networking positively, and then that's going to help you in the long term. Or you're practicing a skill that's going to make you lovable, therefore people are going to work with you, because people like to work with people they love, right? So like when I teach, so my job is I'm a teacher, right? But when I don't just teach, I make people feel good about themselves. And where did I learn that skill? I do that every day, and so I become more successful in my job. But if you're hating on people all the time, you haven't practiced that muscle. You haven't strengthened that muscle. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that you're doing by, making the cheese pies,
No, yeah. And it's, and I'm not, obviously, I'm using that. It's true. I'm using that as an example of not being full of hate. If I was full of hate, there's a good chance I wouldn't get out of bed. And
so true.
So however, when hatred is, when I say justified, It may be, but ultimately, like
You said something incredibly important. If you can carry on a point, but there's something incredibly important about if you hate, you wouldn't get out of bed because people are designed. There's I keep forgetting like there's these chemicals that make you work harder and aim for something large. Not oxytocin. There's a chemical basically that motivates you to do these things, and the way it works is you aim for something higher.
yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah. So that's how you function. If you don't have that chemical, they did it with mice, you wouldn't even bother taking one step forward to eat. Right. So the haters are essentially making themselves depressed and they won't get out of bed. And that's not a pretend theoretical thing. This is what I'm seeing in the UK more and more. People are like, I can't be bothered because they're going down this hatred thing and they don't understand their own psychology, that they're harming themselves. And that's why Goggins is right. Okay, if you're going to be a hater, you're just destroying your own psychology. You're not going to be a winner, and everybody's going to take over. All these other people that you're hating on are just going to win anyway. So I love that thing. Sorry, I kind of interrupted, but that's so
if I could
important.
just answer this person in the chat, this guy that
Oh, yes.
stop making cheese pies. No, I won't. Stop blathering about immigrants. I didn't bring the subject of immigrants up. It was brought up. Focus on bringing back traditional.
Did you say cheese pies? Oh, I haven't got the cheese pies.
Values back to the community you're in. Well, the first thing to do is to demonstrate it. So I am demonstrating that within my life. I might go around telling people what to do. I think not. Do you do that?
Do I do? Oh, him?
No,
or
no,
him?
no. I'm answering Temperance Ministry, who hasn't got his
name
in there. So the journey from hatred to, I don't know, sounds a bit crap, but enlightenment. But it is enlightenment. People build up anger over the years, and it doesn't just go with, oh, let's be nice to people. And I've worked quite a bit on this stuff with myself and then with other people in various areas.
And I've had a lot of hatred and anger in the past as well. Absolutely.
And a lot of it's justified. And we've all picked up stuff at school, with teachers, with parents, with family, with government, with whatever. And if we are a victim to all of that oppression, and a lot of it is genuine oppression, like Goggins, for example, like we don't come out of it. And I do think it's very difficult to give out, let's say, cheese pies whilst you are full of hatred. You kind of need to get past so
how do you get past that if you have suffered? That's a great question. I think because I don't like to belittle people's opinions. So like if they're angry, I don't want to just say you shouldn't be angry, because there's probably a reason why they're angry, right? Okay. And I want to be practical and saying, how do we move past that? So one thing I feel like because people might think I'm anti-Christian or something, I'll give a Jesus quote because Muslims love Jesus, right? About getting past hate. One way, this is like one of the tiny steps, is that Jesus says something along the lines of, people cannot see the boulder in their own eyes, like a huge, like massive issue in themselves, but they'll see a tiny pebble in somebody else's eyes, right? And that's our nature. We're good at spotting problems in other people, and we don't spot our own problems. So if you're hating, this is a really like wise thing to consider. Like if you're hating somebody else, you probably have a lot of those things in yourself, and that will reduce your hate, because you'll be like, if you reflect, you go, hang on a minute, I got a lot of that, so maybe I should start focusing a little bit on that. Okay, fair enough. Hate on other, you might have resentment and hatred on other people, but it is wise to actually start dealing with the same problems you've got. You've got the same problems. Let's like deal with them for your own sake, so you move forwards. So that's just a really cool Jesus rough quote that I like. That
Yeah,
might
I
help.
mean, there's people who've been like abused, and you know, women as well. A lot of things, and uh, try saying to them, "Oh, you shouldn't." Try not say to them, "Oh, don't be angry," or "Life's not that bad," or you know, it almost makes it worse for them. Like, who are we to? I mean, in the Ten Commandments, it says, "Do not judge," and there are reasons why we shouldn't judge. A lot of them are for our own sanity, where if we're judging people, we automatically have fear of being judged, which isn't a good state of mind.
Mm.
A lot of the time with anger, I think I've said this, that it's because people are not doing or behaving what we want. The problem isn't other people. The problem is that we're not God. We are not in a position to demand that other people in the world behave in such a way to suit us. So I've tried explaining this to Claire a lot. It's to do with anything where we may be wrong, and it's foolish to think that a person, a family member, is going to automatically behave in such a way that suits what I demand they do. And like, who am I to demand that they have to? You know, so a lot of hate, as I say, a lot of hatred and anger comes from being silly. Like, you know, when I tell you a good example, a good crossover I've had, a real good transition is like,
Yeah.
Looking at modern progressive liberals saying stuff that, you know, children don't need two parents, or all kind legalized drugs and all stuff like that. Now, I've spent quite a long time laughing, hating, ridiculing them, but I realized a few years ago that these people are the victims of modern day living. These victims are these people are the victims of living in a non-religious country or area or something, where if I was born 30 years after I might think like they think.
Yeah. They might have
So
had bad parents are divorced and they think there's no point getting married and stuff like that. And then they don't believe in the institution of marriage or
yeah,
family and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
so like, a lot of these young people, you know, when you see the oil protesters gluing themselves to the road, like, they were born, I don't know, 10, a lot of them are young, and they've been told at school, at university, or by liberal parents that what you're doing is great. So, like, they don't know any better, and they are suffering in a way because they're insane. I believe a lot of it's mental insanity. That's the latest religion sweep in this nation, is mental insanity and promoting it.
Yeah. The
But
woke
there
mind
are
viruses. Yeah.
there are victims of, you know, apparently dwarfism is now a great thing. You know, to be a dwarf, and I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but it's certainly not good.
Yeah. I'm just going to jump in a little bit because
Yeah,
those are great quotes,
okay,
especially
good.
helping me. Just thanks, Mike Mauzan, for all the great quotes. Like I butchered this quote, and also I should thank you, Jay. The dopamine was the chemical that I was trying to say that motivates us to move forward, and it's really interesting. It's got like a spiritual dimension for some reason, but well, I say for some reason, God created us and actually helps us like at a subconscious level to motivate us to be better than we are. So we follow that God's design, we'll be successful. But anyway, yeah. So there's so much. Anyway, thanks everybody for all the comments. We need to wind up. We've got 5 minutes. So we've got this hate. Can we summarize some of the points? That'd be really nice. Like, what have we been, Jay? What would be the arguments that we've kind of made up to this point?
Well, as per normal, we agree on quite a bit and disagree on quite a bit. We started out by agreeing that most of the time hatred is hating people who have more than you, who've done better than you, who seem happier than you, and that's possibly a form of envy, and envy and jealousy, which Claire pointed out, which doesn't surprise me because she knows a lot about envy, is that a person's not fulfilling their own obligations to themselves. So instead of actually getting up out of bed and doing stuff, you then hate your neighbor for getting up out of bed and doing stuff because he makes me look stupid, type thing. So we agreed on that. We
Did we disagree on something?
On the birth rate issue.
Yeah. Okay.
I explained to me that I think a lot of Muslims envy what the West has to offer, and they'll blame imperialism and Iraq and everything, but really it's just to live in a better country. Simple as that. And you probably disagreed with that, maybe not.
No, I mean, I agree with you in some ways. Like, okay, let's say your country was Iraq and you got bombed out of it by the British and the Americans, whatever. Why was your country not strong enough to defend itself? There's something wrong with your country in the first place. Why? And there was a lot of corruption in that country. So it doesn't mean that country was all terrible, because I think there's a great argument about failed nations versus failed societies. In some ways, those societies were beautiful. Iraqi society, they must have been very loving, caring. They have good families, and it's a lovely place to be. But it's a failed nation, as in they couldn't get their act together to be economically strong enough, to have a strong enough, military to defend itself against American powers. So I see there's different arguments, different ways. Like I'm not simply going to say, people bomb their country, therefore they're going to come to the UK, because I think their country was weak in the first place. They couldn't defend themselves in the first place. So I agree with you in some ways, Jay, in that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was questions from the chat. As per normal, there's the invisible names chucking out a few abusers. Claire's been.
Yeah, I should point out, I don't like people being abusive, like saying the bald guy. It doesn't add things.
No. Honestly, this is a good thing with anger, temperance.
Well, it's demonstrating anger. It doesn't help.
No. But a lot of people could get angry. He said, Jay looks like James Whale. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets his talking points from him. So, I don't know whether he's trying to be funny or whether he's trying to insult me, but it really doesn't touch the sides what he's doing. If he wants to put a picture of himself up, I'll come on and chat next week.
You're welcome, Temperance Ministry.
Yeah, I suspect he's not. He's more than welcome to show us how it's done.
Yeah, I'll put my email for people who don't know how to contact me.
I'm on here. Khalid's on here. We're in the arena, doing something, making ourselves vulnerable to people like Temperance, who's flinging rocks from the safety of the crowd, and it's almost like he is hurting himself by acting this way. It doesn't do him any good. It doesn't harm me in the slightest. So he's obviously struggling if he needs to come online and hurl abuse at stuff. James Whale's dying of cancer. He's got another couple of weeks to live.
Oh, wow. Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. So Temperance Ministry is really scraping the barrel.
So Temperance Ministry, I value you being here, but I always come from a point of love, right? And even Jay's values you being here, even though you're insulting him, because you have given a lot of value as well, put some interesting comments at least. But I think it's self-harming. So I've got people I love, and they come out that hate harms them it doesn't. I don't think it harms Jay. Jay like doesn't care. I don't care. So yeah. Anyway, I love Temperance Ministry. Mike Mauser. I think Mike's been on my show before. Are you the Jewish guy? I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. So anyway, thank you, Jay. I don't like take a minute more. I mean, more than we agreed. I thought it was a fantastic conversation. I hope it helps somebody out there. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, cheers.
And everybody
Bye-bye,
else.
everybody. See you next week.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.